All right, we're going to work through 4.5 part B, which is rational inequalities. Now, they may look something like this. And it'll say solve for x. It'll say x minus 6 over x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So what's happening here is you have a graph that may look something like this. And since we're looking for greater than or equal to 0, you would be finding this interval. And if it was a less than or equal to 0, we would be finding this interval. Now realize that's not what this graph looks like. I just made it up. But sometimes you'll have one interval, sometimes you'll have two. You just don't know. So to figure out where the transitions happen, you have to find your asymptotes. And basically those happen at your critical numbers. So find where the top and bottom, which are your numerator and denominator, equal 0. So x minus 6, where does it equal 0? Well, at positive 6. And then the denominator, x plus 6, where does it equal 0? At negative 6. So these are what we call critical numbers. At 6 and negative 6, this thing is changing. It's going either above the x-axis or below it, but it's crossing at 6 and at negative 6. So what we have to do is we have to say, all right, you go from negative infinity to negative 6 to positive 6, 6 to infinity. See, I went from my negative to the first number I would come to would be negative 6. The next number would be positive 6, and then of course you would end at infinity. And then you find, we know these are greater than or equal to 0, so you have to be careful here. Because if I put negative 6 in this equation, I get 0 on the bottom. Therefore, it can't happen. So infinities always get parentheses, but negative 6 is going to get it as well. This guy gets a parenthesis because it can't be negative 6. But can it be positive 6? 6 minus 6 is 0. 6 plus 6 is 12. 0 divided by 12 is greater than or equal to 0. So it gets a bracket. And of course, infinities always get parentheses. Next step, find a test value. It has to live in that interval. So I'm going to use negative 7, 0, and 7. And I'm going to go put it in the original equation. So negative 7 minus 6 over negative 7 plus 6. Is that greater than or equal to 0? Gives you negative 13 divided by negative 1. Is 13 greater than or equal to 0? Yeah, that's true. So this interval works. If I put 0 in, 0 minus 6 over 0 plus 6, is that greater than or equal to 0? That gives me negative 6 over positive 6. Is negative 1 greater than or equal to 0? No, it's out. I guarantee you it goes every other one. It always does. This guy is going to be true. So let's just double check it. 7 minus 6 over 7 plus 6. Is that greater than or equal to 0? 1/13. Is that bigger than 0? Yeah, it's true. So your answer is negative infinity to negative 6, both with parentheses, union positive 6 to infinity. And that's how you figure out the values of x. So what that tells me is that I drew this backwards. It probably looks a lot like this. Not that. I hope that makes sense. So let's try another one. There's a few that I want to show you so that you'll be good to go in the homework. For the second one, let's say I give you negative 1 over x plus 3 is less than or equal to negative 4x over x plus 3. Well, it has to be equal to 0. So I'm just going to take this guy across. And in doing so, I'll just add it since it's negative. So now I have negative 1 over x plus 3 plus 4x over x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0, which is the same thing as negative 1 plus 4x over x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0. Now remember, what makes the top equal 0? What makes the bottom equal 0? Add 1, 4x is 1, divide by 4. Critical numbers are 1/4 and negative 3. Those are our critical values. So here we go. Negative infinity, first number I'll come to is negative 3. Negative 3 to 1/4, and then 1/4 to infinity. This one is less than or equal to 0. So when you look at negative 3, go right here. If I put negative 3 in here, see how the bottom is going to be 0? Can't be negative 3, so both of those get parentheses. But if I put 1/4 in, I get 0 divided by 3 1/4, which is 0, so it definitely works. So 1/4 gets a bracket. And of course, infinity gets a parenthesis. So I'm going to use negative 4, 0, and 1. And remember how I told you it's always every other one? It is until you get into calculus where they get a little uglier, and we're not going there. So we're just going to test one interval. And I'm going to use 0. So watch this. Negative 1 plus 4 times 0 over 0 plus 3 is less than or equal to 0. Negative 1 plus 0 over 3 is negative 1/3 less than or equal to 0. It is true. This interval works, which means these two will not because it goes every other one. So your final answer for this one is negative 3, 1/4 with a bracket. And that's how you do the second one. All right. Let's try another. The third one. 3x is less than 9 over x plus 2. First thing I'm going to do is subtract this over. So now my equation is 3x minus 9 over x plus 2 is less than 0. This guy doesn't have a denominator, so I'm going to multiply by x plus 2 to get a common denominator. So that's going to give me 3x squared plus 6x over x plus 2 minus 9 over x plus 2 less than 0. So as one fraction, 3x squared plus 6x minus 9 over x plus 2 is less than 0. I'm going to factor out a 3. And then this guy will factor into x minus 1, x plus 3 over x plus 2 is less than 0. I'd either have to use negative 1 and 3 or 1 and negative 3. And this, of course, makes positive 2 in the middle. So your critical numbers are 1 for this guy. That 3 is just a multiplier. Don't let it mess with you. Negative 3 and negative 2 for the denominator. So here we go. Let's set up our intervals. Negative infinity, the first number you'll come to is negative 3. Then negative 3 to negative 2. Negative 2 to 1. And then 1 to infinity. And see how this guy is a less than? That means everybody gets parentheses. So when you do your test value, I'm going to use negative 4. You could do negative 2.5, 0, and 2. I, of course, am going to test 0, and I'm going to put it in the original. So 3 times 0, is that less than 9 over 0 plus 2. Is 0 less than 9/2? Yes, that is true. So this one works. That means this is out, and this one's going to work. So your final answer is negative infinity to negative 3 union negative 2 to 1. What do you think about that? Let's try an easy one when it's ready to go. Let's say you have x plus 2 over 2x is less than 0. See how this is already one fraction? Your critical number is what makes that top 0, negative 2. What makes the bottom 0 if it was 0? So you're going to go negative infinity to negative 2, negative 2 to 0, 0 to infinity. And they're all less than. So that means it's all parentheses. And we'll test negative 3, negative 1, and 1. If I put negative 1 in, negative 1 plus 2, 2 times negative 1, is that less than 0? It gives you positive 1 over negative 2. That is less than 0. So these two are out, and this one works. So your answer is negative 2 to 0. All right. Do one more for the good of the order. Actually, we may do two more. This guy, 2 over x plus 4, is it less than or equal to 2 over x minus 3? First thing you want to do, bring the guy over. So 2 over x plus 4 minus 2 over x minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. Common denominator. Multiply by x, sorry, that should be minus 3. Multiply this side by x plus 4. So I'll give you 2 times x minus 3 minus 2 times x plus 4 over x minus 3, x plus 4 is less than or equal to 0. Distribute 2x minus 6 minus 2x minus 8 for x minus 3, x plus 4 less than or equal to 0. You get negative 14 over x minus 3, x plus 4 less than or equal to 0. Critical numbers. The top, can't make it 0 because it's negative 14. Your critical numbers are 3 and negative 4. That's it. Which would have been nice from the get-go, but you have to double check. So when you set up your intervals, you're going to go negative infinity, negative 4, negative 4 to 3, 3 to infinity. Both of these make the denominator 0, so it's all parentheses. Make denominator 0, so parentheses, not brackets, even though it's less than or equal to. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to use negative 5, 0, and 4. And of course, you know me, I'm going to test 0 in the original. So 2 over 0 plus 4, is that less than or equal to 2 over 0 minus 3? 2 over 4, is that less than or equal to 2 over negative 3? Is 1/2 less than negative 2/3? No. Therefore, it's this guy and this guy. Final answer, negative infinity to negative 4 union 3 to infinity. And that's all I'm going to say about 4.5b. I've worked through the certificate. The notes on there are really bad because you have to use the mouse to write with. So I'll add these on there as a PDF so that you can look at those and work through and take care of business. So good luck. If you need help, just ask.